Oh, we are feeling the cold here in the Triad, but a major winter storm is bringing heavy snow to parts of the Northeast. Parts of New England saw as much as 3 feet of that heavy, wet snow.
Honestly, the heaviest snow I've ever seen. It should be a new category.
It's New England, and it's still March. Winter's not over yet.
Oh my, the winds and the snow snapped trees, weighed down power lines, leaving tens of thousands of people without power.
Internet's down, Wi-Fi is terrible. I mean, we can't, our cell phones don't work up here right now.
During the worst of the storm, more than 2,000 flights were canceled, many at Boston Logan International Airport. We certainly haven't seen anything like that here recently, and we're kind of glad to not have seen all of that. In fact, our most recent snow Sunday just brought a few of those flakes. With barely any of it sticking, still, it was something to make some of those snow lovers happy for at least a little while. For people, though, wanting more snow, it is getting pretty late in the season for snow. So let's talk to Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley about how likely, or maybe how rather unlikely, it would be for us to get snow this time of year.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. And right out of the gate here, I want to make sure folks know we are not forecasting snow, but we are looking at history as a guide, and I think that can be really helpful when it comes to Triad weather. So first things first, about 20% of our snow historically has come in the month of March. That's kind of interesting, 20% all time. But let's kind of dive in a little bit deeper. Most of the March snow that we've had throughout our history happens in the first half of the month. Once you get to March 20th, which is where we'll be next week, it gets a lot harder. In all of our years of record, about 120 years going back to 1903, we've only had a trace of snow 16 times. We've only had 2 inches 9 times. We've only had 6 inches twice. Again, it's very rare for us to get snow once the first day of spring arrives. The odds are just not that good historically, and so you wouldn't want to get your hopes up this year either.
Well, with the overnight freezes for the last few days, plants that were ahead of schedule due to that warm February, they're now at risk. We heard from 2 farmers just this week about how they're handling the sub-freezing temperatures.
March has kind of came in here and it's brought us February weather, and so what it's done is really just slowed the berries back down.
Matt Rudd with Rudd Farms in Greensboro says it takes about 28 days from bloom to berry. He says their plants are about 2 weeks ahead of schedule right now, but with the cold weather, the plants will probably just pause.
You know, if we can stay mid-20s to upper 20s and we don't get much colder than that, the stuff we have in place, we can manage it pretty well. You know, you start talking low 20s, teens now, with as far as long as the crops advance, you know, that could cause some huge problems for us.
Over at Whitaker Farms, they're covering all of their outdoor crops with a heavier cloth than normal and are moving some of the plants that they don't normally move into the greenhouse.
We have all of our veggies that we are growing besides the cold crops are inside now. All of our flowers are inside, our perennials are all inside, and then we have covered all of our shrubs that are blooming, and our trees that are blooming we've actually moved inside, which is something we never do, but the bloom's just too pretty to lose it.
Well, for your own veggies at home, Whitaker Farms recommends using a cloth to cover your plants. If you do use plastic, make sure to get up in the morning before the sun rises to avoid it melting onto your plants. Well, we've seen a flip-flop of weather recently. While traditionally cold in February, this year was exceptionally warm, and this March we're seeing all the cold temperatures coming back. And as WFMY News 2's Sydney Moore tells us, that unpredictable weather can be bad news for a lot of folks.
Changing weather can take a toll on your health. Let's connect the dots. Allergies, infections, and even more severe conditions like heart disease can all be impacted by crazy weather. Why? Experts say it's because our bodies can't acclimate in just a few hours. That can take days or even weeks. And that's because the human body has to work pretty hard to maintain our body temperature. And when the outside thermometer gets out of whack, that takes a toll. Sudden temperature changes can also leave us more vulnerable to bacterial and viral infections. And the stress on our bodies can also affect the heart. A study found temperature shifts can be associated with increased mortality. And that's connecting the dots.
If you're using a space heater to keep warm on these really cold nights, remember to practice good safety to prevent any kind of tragedy. Last Friday, Mebane fire officials say a space heater started a fire that heavily damaged a home, leaving 4 people displaced and killing 2 of their family dogs. A look at this video from last month. This Winston-Salem firefighter's helmet cam shows the extent of a fire caused by a space heater too close to gasoline. Thankfully, no one was injured, but 3 people were displaced from their home. So the advice when it comes to space heaters is
We want to make sure we keep them away from anything that might be combustible. We want to make sure we keep those 3 feet away. We want to make sure that we shut them off when we go to bed at night.
All right, that means you need to keep them away from things like paper, wood, blankets, right? All of those things. Another story from this morning that heeds a warning for you as well. A Summerfield woman is in the hospital and her dog is dead after a fire broke out in their home this morning. Firefighters believe there were not any working smoke detectors in the home.
We did not hear of any working smoke alarms going off. So, key is making sure everybody has working smoke detectors to get that notification quick and get out.
Recommendation, of course, is to change your smoke alarms batteries every 6 months. A good reminder to do it is when the time changes, like we just had. So if you haven't done it since Sunday, now would be a good time. Smoke alarms do expire after 10 years, so make sure yours is still in date. It should have a manufacturer date on the back. As long as it hasn't been since 10 years since that date, your smoke alarm is good to go.